Board committees are indispensable for carrying out the responsibilities of governance. As important as they are, however, they can often be counterproductive. Some people argue that boards shouldn't have standing committees at all. Hi, I'm Jack Peterson with Managing for Mission. Managing for Mission specializes in administrative and governance consulting for faith-based schools. I believe that boards can't fully carry out their responsibility without committees, but they need to be aware of the pitfalls. In this tutorial, I explain why committees are important, what their proper role is, and how to structure and use them properly. So why have board committees? The argument against board committees is that they can draw board members into the areas that are the responsibility of the administration. Board committees focus on arenas which often reflect the school's administrative structure. For instance, an education or academic committee that corresponds to the work of the principal, a development committee that corresponds to the work of the development director, and so forth. The natural temptation for those who serve on such boards is to see their role as giving direction to the administration. When this happens, they interfere, even if unintentionally, with the authority and responsibility that the board has delegated to the school head. The administrators then have two masters. This always leads to confusion and in some cases to serious operational breakdowns. As real as this pitfall is, committees are still important. It's unrealistic to expect boards as a whole to take the time to understand every arena of the school's strategy, performance, and risks without dividing up the oversight among its members. But assigning this oversight without overstepping its governance role requires a clear understanding of the committee's roles. The role of committees corresponds to the role of the board overall, which I have discussed in my tutorial on the board's role. Committee members wear three hats, labeled policy, sounding board, and volunteer. Wearing the policy hat means advising the board on governance-level policies related to their arena. Wearing the sounding board hat means providing advice to school personnel without giving direction. And wearing the volunteer hat means assisting school personnel on some project with no more authority than any other volunteer. Committee members bring value with each hat they wear, but if it's unclear which hat they're wearing, if they're projecting policy or guidance when they've just been asked to wear the sounding board hat, this undermines the authority delegated to the administration. One way to make the committee's proper role clearer to its members is having a committee charter, which can be reviewed by the committee every year and shared with new members. The charter should state the committee's three-part role. 1, to serve as the board's eyes and ears so it can recommend governance-level policies to the board. 2, to serve as a sounding board when administrators seek additional perspectives. And 3, to assist the school administration on specific tasks as volunteers. The committee charter should also include expectations of members similar to those for board members, including supporting the mission, respecting the delegated authority of the administrators, confidentiality, and so forth. The charter can then spell out any specific responsibilities expected by the board. For instance, the Finance Committee can be charged with receiving the administration's proposal for the budget and presenting its key assumptions to the rest of the board for approval. The charter should be approved by the board initially and whenever the committee seeks to revise it. Each committee should include 2 board members, but it's also a good practice to include people who are not on the board. This will broaden the skill set and the perspective of the committee and also serve as a means for identifying and preparing future board members. Some feel that employees should not serve on board committees, but I've found that if the roles are made clear, some employee participation can strengthen the knowledge of the committee and also strengthen the trust that the faculty has for the board. I found it helpful to have the administrator whose portfolio most closely aligns with the committee serve as the committee's administrative liaison. which means providing staff support to the chair and helping her craft agendas. But it's better if liaisons are not voting members of the committee, which helps keep the board committees and administrators in their swimming lanes. The ideal size of a committee is somewhere between 5 and 8. Factors to consider are the number of board members available to serve on committees, the number of committees the board needs, and the range of expertise and perspective required. The committees a school needs must ultimately be determined by its own circumstances, but limiting the number of committees is one way of assuring that trustees are not dragged into the weeds. Some committees are required by the bylaws, for example, an executive committee, some by statute, like an audit committee, and some by the internal needs of the board, for instance, a governance committee. But it's also common for boards to have a development committee, a finance committee, and a mission committee, because these areas are so key to the board's fiduciary responsibilities. Boards may be tempted to set up committees for every area important to the school's success, such as academics, athletics, campus ministry, strategic planning, technology, facilities, personnel, student life, and so on. Not only will this tend to draw the board into micromanagement, but providing board presence on all committees will either spread trustees very thin, overburden them with multiple assignments, or necessitate a large and unwieldy board. The school should keep its committees as few and as high level as possible. And when circumstances require a committee with a particular focus, consider using an ad hoc committee with a defined lifespan instead. Then consider whether it really needs to be a board committee or whether it can be set up by the administration to provide a report to the board. I hope this overview of board committees has been helpful. If you have more questions about the governance of faith-based schools, please visit our website at managingformission.com or contact me using the email address at the end of this tutorial. I pray that your school may fully receive the fruits your board has to offer, especially through its committees. God bless.